Cek 1, 2, 3. Aman, Bu Epi?
Tes.
Ya, ya,
1,
ya.
2, 3.
Ya,
Bisa disimak? Baik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
salam warahmatullah.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to International Webinar Series, the first lesson study, theory, application, and future research by Professor Dr. Swee Lin Goei. Am I correct, Professor?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy. It's working.
Yes.
Yes, I think that's correct. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for coming to our webinar. It's a pleasure for us to have you in this very good afternoon. 1 minute. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we open for this webinar since 2 days ago, and it's like a lot of people interested to join our webinar. It's almost more than 900 to register, but hopefully ongoing, the time, so they will come in. Some of them maybe join through the Zoom, and the rest maybe will join from the YouTube. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's start the program by praying, saying Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most merciful and the most beneficent. Okay, now we go on. We have the agenda. So everyone knows the agenda, the first one, the opening, and then Indonesian anthem, and then welcome speech from our head of study program, and then welcome speech from the vice dean, and then go to the speech and close. For the second one, we go to Indonesian anthem. For the second one, we go to Indonesian anthem. Thank you. Now we go on to the third one. We are going to welcome the head of Elementary Teacher Education Study Program to have a welcoming speech. Time is yours. This is Dr. Ari Rahmat Riyadi, MPD. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Miss Epi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam.
Alhamdulillahirrabbilalamin. Allahumma sholli wa sallim ala nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. The Honorable Vice Dean, Dr. Nandang Budiman, MSI, the Honorable our lovely keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Siulin Goei. Thank you for your humbleness to accept our invitation as a keynote speaker in this first international webinar series. I'm so very happy that so maybe it's feel like nervous, but I'm so excited because this is the first international event in this late year in 2023. Maybe you are the first our keynote speaker, and hopefully there will be next and next, and then maybe we are going to have some good collaboration in the future, especially related to this topic about lesson study, theory, application, and future research. And to all participants, we are very welcome you all to attending this event. And hopefully, actually, Miss Epi, we have registered and to our link. It's more than 1,000 attendance, but maybe some of them are not yet into the Zoom, and they choose to watch our event in YouTube.
Yes.
Once again, I would like to say thank you for Professor Dr. Siulin Goei and moderator, especially to having us to connected one each other, Ms. Rianita, and also all two participants. Maybe we can continue this nice event in the second series, in the third one, and the next one in the future later. So maybe pray to God, yeah. This event will be having beneficial to us as teachers, educators, and students. We are happy to sharing knowledge from international keynote speaker like you, Professor. Thank you. Maybe that's all from for me. Maybe hopefully this event will be running well and success. Thank you, Miss Epi. Assalamualaikum
Amin.
warahmatullahi
Amin.
wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Ari. Now we go on to the next agenda. Welcoming speech from the Vice Dean of Academic and Student Affairs, Bapak Dr. Nandang Budiman. Time is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Epi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Salam.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The first, the Honorable Professor Su Linko from Widesheim University of Applied Sciences. Thank you very much for your kind gesture to follow this seminar. And next time, we would like that you come to Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia in Bandung. Thank you. Then the Honorable Dr. Ari Rahmat Riyadi, MPD, Head of the Study Program of the Elementary School Teacher Education in Faculty of Education Sciences, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. And then the Honorable Professor Tatat, my teachers, and all of the lecturers in the Elementary School Teacher Education Program, and all of participants, ladies and gentlemen. The first, I'd like to say that we thank to our God who provide us to good opportunity in a good health and conditions, so we can attend this special meeting in order to follow the international webinar series 1, the first webinar, the best webinar, I think. with the 10th lesson study, theory, application, and the future research. Maybe this is the best and the very enthusiastic participants. So the participant more than 1,000 in the YouTube and 200 and the ICE participant in Zoom's meeting. Okay, today we are very nice because we can take and sharing the insights, inspiration, and motivation from Professor Su, one of the best scientists with the largest experience, I think, from Wednesheim University Applied Sciences, and she heads the academic group of teachers and teacher educators in inclusive learning environment. And so she also holds a position in affiliate University of Amsterdam, PU, at the teacher academic and learning sciences. And so she also one of the founders of lesson study in the Netherlands and introduced schools wide positive behavior supports in the Netherlands and in other European countries. So I think the Professor Su Linko, very good scientist. So as a Palestinian, I'd like to say thank you very much for your kind attitude to this event. And so I'd like to thank you very much as a Palestinian. I'd like to say thank you very much to Dr. Ari Rahmat Bidadi as head of study program of the Limited School Teacher Education in Public Educational Sciences. And so all of the committee that held on in the international webinar series, the first series. Okay, by hoping the blessing God and promise from all of the you here, we would like to open this international webinar, the first international webinar with Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Good afternoon and good luck. May God give us mercy. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Nandang Budiman. Now, without further ado, we are going to go to the special program today. We'd like to say thank you, especially to distinguished speakers, Dr. Sulin Goei, who could come today and will share her understanding in lesson study, especially theory application and future research. In this occasion, the moderator for today's webinar is Ms. Rianita Puspitasari, MPD. She has the academic student development team leader at Yayasan Mitra Pembangunan Islam, which is a non-profit social foundation in a rural area. She's also an assistant lecturer at Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. Her research focuses on pedagogy and pedagogical relationship. She has been involved in several international programs for youth. So now I invite Ms. Rianita Puspitasari to lead this webinar. Time is yours.
Thank you, Miss Evi, for the really generous introduction. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon from Bandung, Indonesia. To our keynote speaker, Dr. Suilin Goei, and participant for of the general lecture, lesson study, theory, application, and future research. My name is Rianita Puspitasari. It is my privilege to be a moderator for this exciting event. I know everyone cannot wait any longer to listen to our keynote speaker. We will have around an hour presentation and then follow up with a Q&A session. First, I would like to greet Dr. Suilin Goei. Good afternoon from Indonesia, Dr. Suilin Goei. How are you? Or hoe gaat het in Dutch, I believe, right?
Goedemorgen in Dutch.
Oh, in Dutch. And hoe gaat het is how are you, right?
Yeah, hoe gaat het is that how are you?
Okay, yeah. So, Dr. Suilin, before starting the presentation, please allow me to deliver your profile briefly. Okay, so Dr. Suilin Goei is a professor and academic director of educational masters at Windesheim University of Applied Sciences. She also holds a position as a senior researcher and teacher trainer at Vrije University in Amsterdam. Dr. Goei is also a co-editor-in-chief of IJLLS, I think, as co-member of WALS and co-founder of Lesson Study Netherlands. Her academic work focuses on lesson study, designing inclusive educational learning environments, and school-wide positive behavior support. So without further ado, please welcome Dr. Swilin Goei. Dr. Swilin Goei, the time and screen are yours.
Thank you so much for the introductions and also for the nice words of Effie, Ari, and Nandang, the moderator, and the dean and the vice dean. And I welcome you, everybody who is here. Thank you so much for your interest in my work and, of course, the lesson study approach. So I hope I can give you some insights in how I see lesson study. And I've been to Bandung many times. I've met up with Rianita also many times. And I hope to come over in, I hope, April, May, sometime next year. So that would be good to come and visit again. I'm going to try to share my screen. I hope it works.
Okay, Dr. Swilin, do you want to share your PowerPoint or do you want me to help you to share it?
Can you share it? Is that possible?
Sure, let me try.
Because
Yep.
I know how to work with, thank you. If you can pull it up in presentation mode, that would be great.
Yeah, can you see my screen now?
Yes,
Yeah.
If you could
Thank
do
you.
it in presentation mode. Oh, yes, that's excellent. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here, and for Indonesia is my parents' countries and also my family's countries. So I do miss it so much. I do miss the food a lot. So and also the weather. It's very cold here right now in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. It's going to storm this afternoon. And we are advised to stay inside, so I'm happy I'm inside. So my talk is about indeed lesson study, and I will talk a little bit about theory and its application in what we do in research. So we go to the next slide. My focus is on within the lesson study approach. We think that if you apply this in education, is the moderation of my English okay, or do I need to speak faster or slower? Whatever is possible. Is it okay? It's okay. Thank you. So if I tend to speak very fast, so please slow me down if I speak fast. So lesson study is an approach where you focus on the learning of the pupils. That's why I showed you the glasses, so you get another insight on the learning of the pupils. This one. So with this approach, when you participate in a lesson study, you gain the eyes of the students. That's what we always say. You see the learning from the eyes of the students. So I'm going to talk a little bit about lesson study indeed, and then about the application. So if we go to the next slide, and how to implement it, future research, and then some Q&A. So you talked already a little bit about what I do. So indeed, I am a professor already for a long time at Windesheim University of Applied Sciences. I'm also, since September, the academic director of the educational masters of the same university. I still have a position in Amsterdam where I used to work, but now I have all in one place. And for me, this is better. And recently, I've also become the anchor of the national science agenda for the youth in the Netherlands. So it's a national position. And then, as Rianita has told you, I'm also the co-editor-in-chief of the Journal of Lesson Study. I'm also a member of the executive committee of the World Association of Lesson Study, and indeed the co-founder of Lesson Study, the Netherlands. Okay, the next one is I want to show you my family. We are all originate from Semarang. It's very big. And these are not all members, but we always go back to Indonesia. As a matter of fact, And now a number of my family members are living in Jakarta, and they want to go back to Indonesia. So maybe when I'm getting old and gray, I will come back to Indonesia as well. And I like it very much. So the next slide is indeed then the Dutch consortium. So we have a Dutch consortium. If you go push the buttons, reality, you can see the logos of the various universities. If you just go, yeah. So we have the University of Amsterdam, Windesheim University. We have the University of Twente. We have the University of Eindhoven. We have the University of Groningen, Utrecht, and recently we also have another university present. So we have about 9 universities present in the consortium, and we cover the whole of the Netherlands. But as you know, the Netherlands is not that big as opposed to Indonesia. But although it's a small country, we have many differences in approaches. And all these universities focus on a specific part of lesson study. In November, we are going to organize again the International Walls Conference. I know some of you are coming, but and I do invite you to come over. But yes, I know it's difficult to come over. So the next slide. So what is lesson study? If we go further to, lesson study originally originated from Japan over a century ago. I think many of you know this, and it's an approach of professional development involving an elaborated version of study, plan, do, and review. And it's based on we base this on the American model of lesson study, which is founded by Catherine Lewis. But in the already a century ago, so in the 1900s, it was practiced in Japan, and it has come to prominence internationally over the last 20 years. And there have been different kinds of models of lesson study use throughout the world. Of course, most of them in the Asian countries, like Indonesia, of course, has a widespread model of lesson study. I know Arif, I forgot his surname. Maybe Rianita knows. Arif.
That's correct. Yes, Arif in science education faculty.
Yes, education. I forgot his last name. Sorry, but he is now the head, I think, of the Indonesian organization. And I'm already busy also in China, and of course in many other countries, the UK, the Netherlands, Switzerland, Sweden, Norway, Spain, and of course the center of activity is Asia, the Far East, Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong, and China, and also, of course, Indonesia. So next slide would be nice. And so this is the model we use. So the study, plan, teach, review. And what you basically do is that you formulate a research focus or a question, and you study this, and based on the research focus or your problem you're going to focus on, you study your program, your curriculum, which is relevant to your lesson study focus or problem. And of course, you gain other knowledge, external knowledge or literature. And then in the plan phase, you form your research question and identify case pupils or the pupils you want to focus on. So you select a specific classroom where you want to enact a lesson study, and then based on this classroom and your lesson study focus, you identify case pupils. Then if you have this, you do a joint planning of a research lesson. And you designate one teacher who can enact the lesson, and the other ones of the team in the lesson study team observe the lesson. So we're already in the teach phase. You record all observations, interview the case pupils at the end of the research lesson. And then in the review phase, you analyze the data, what is learned, and involve a knowledgeable other to look at the data and your reflections and dialogue. So basically, this is how we do the lesson study sequence. And it's, of course, based on the Japanese lesson study model. And in a lesson study team, how we do it, mostly 4 to 6 teachers are participating in a lesson study team. and it can be within a school or across schools, or also we do this in teacher education with student teachers. And I think maybe you are also already applying this in teacher education, but I don't know. I'm very curious to know whether you do this. Okay, next slide. So as I said, it's based on Japanese lesson study. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Kenkyu and I was a part of an immersion program already 10 years ago, where I learned the basics of Japanese lesson study. But I learned about lesson study when I lived in Singapore, where I saw many schools using it. So the Japanese lesson study, if we go to the next slide, centers around a research lesson, as I said before. So the team designs, plans and designs a research lesson based on the lesson study problem or focus. And then one of the teachers enacts it in the classroom. This is a Japanese classroom. So I was present at this lesson, and this was a mathematics lesson for, I think, 8 to 10-year-olds. And you can see that all people are watching and observing what the students do. So when you plan or design the research lesson, you also design the observation protocol. What do you want to see in order to answer the research question? Okay, next slide. So basically, it's a professional development approach, Japanese lesson study. And teachers collaborate within this team over time to investigate classroom practice. And as I said, it was initially introduced in Japan. Okay, next one. So you have three forms. You have school-based one, where all teachers are present, like you've seen in the picture. You have a regional lesson study, where a professional development day is organized, or an open house for parents, or you can have a nationwide lesson study, where the research lesson is used as a demonstration lesson by experts. So this is what is done in Japan, and I know many of the, yeah, this is okay, go further. Many of your scholars in Indonesia also go to Japan to study Yu-Gi-Oh! Kenkyu in Japan, and they see the lesson plan as a research proposal. It's very meticulously prepared, like you see here. And in the next slide, you can see how they do the board work. So this is called Bansho, and one of my researchers, Shirley Tan, is an expert in Bansho, where you very carefully prepare the board work. And this is a specific feature of Japanese lesson study. We don't do this in the Western lesson study, but it helps the students to focus on the main features of the research lesson. And it also helps you as a teacher to prepare your lesson very carefully. Okay, the next slide. It is student work. So, and also within the lesson study, we collect the student work. What do students formulate as work? Okay, in the next slide. And then after the research lesson, mostly immediately after, you do a post-lesson discussion. What did you see? What did you observe? What kinds of data did you collect? And usually the teacher who has taught the lesson first reflects on the research lesson he has given. You see on the right side, in my right side, you see the teacher explaining what he did and his reflections. And then all of the team can jump in and share their observations. Okay, next slide. And then at the end of the post-lesson discussion, an expert, or a so-called koshi, a knowledgeable other, will share his reflections on what he has seen in the research lesson, and then relates it to theory and possibly policy of the school. So now I will jump to lesson study a non-Japanese setting. So what you have just seen can be a very long stretched lesson study. It can the duration can be months or weeks, but in the Western part of in the Western countries, we usually do a more rapid cycle of lesson study. So we go to lesson study non-Japanese settings. So, okay. Then indeed, can we translate the model to a non-Japanese setting? I have one, so next slide. So I have one of my PhD students, which is Sarah Selesnios. She studies international. This is called international policy borrowing. So how can we adopt and adapt a model which is developed in another country to another country? So how can we implement this model, a Japanese lesson study model, into another country? And some of our scholars in lesson study, we say, of course, modifications are expected and essential in order to adopt, adapt, and use lesson study effectively. So it's very important that you see that you take into account the local cultural context in order to implement lesson study into this context. Okay, next slide. So we use two implementation paradigms to take into account. So the fidelity paradigm and the adaptation paradigm. The fidelity paradigm is the degree to which a treatment or intervention is implemented as intended. So, are you doing the right thing? So, are you doing the steps as according to the original model? So, are you faithful to the model as intended? This paradigm largely stems from the medical and prevention science paradigms, and where high fidelity is very important, but the degree of fidelity can be unclear. It can fluctuate over time, and mostly this fidelity paradigm is used for simple innovations, which uh, uh, which need to take little account of context. And the adaptation paradigm, you localize the adaptation, the model to the context. It's often not planned or anticipated and may involve mutual adaptation. So we see, if you see this from the fidelity implementation paradigm, this historically has been seen as an implementation failure. But we think it's suitable for complex innovation like lesson study. And it needs to be supported by identification of critical components. And then if you have adapted the original model like lesson study, and then you can see whether it's faithfully implemented. So could fidelity in a new context be better achieved by adaptation? So that's what we are looking at. Are we doing the right thing if we adapt the Japanese lesson study model to, say, in this case, a Dutch context? So we go to the next slide. We see that we look at these kinds of fidelity versus adaptation. So you have extensive adaptation where you change the model, or you have apply the model, the lesson study model, as it is in the Japanese model. But so we developed this model together with my PhD student Sarah Selesnyov. So we think we have to do a conscious adaptation. So you're carefully unfaithful to the model. And so you basically, what you do is you tweak certain features of the lesson study model in a conscious way, in a deliberate way, in order to achieve the same result as in the Japanese context. And you need to adapt it. So we think a conscious adaptation of the lesson study model, as we have learned in Asian countries, or in this case, Japanese countries, in the Japanese context, is possible. So we are carefully unfaithful to the Japanese model, but we do it consciously. So we derive critical features from the literature and our practical experience how to adapt the model to, in this case, the Dutch context. Okay, next slide. So what are then the essential features of lesson study? So if you want to adapt the Japanese model to in this case, a Dutch context, we need to know what the essential features are of lesson study in order to consciously be unfaithful. So how do we adapt this model to a local context? So we go to the next slide. We said, okay, we need to explore its translation beyond Japan. And Sarah, my PhD student, she identified 7 critical components. So identify the focus of the research theme. So teachers compare long-term goals for pupil learning and development to pupils' current learning characteristics and identify a school-wide research theme. And you can pursue this research team, say, for instance, differentiation in the classroom, for more than 2 or 3 years. So this is a research theme which you pursue within the lesson study trajectory. Then, of course, you plan it, a planning phase or a planning component. You work in collaborative groups to carry out Kozai Kenkyu, which is the study of materials. And this leads to a collaboratively written research plan, which I just showed you before. So it's a very detailed plan, like a film script, written over several meetings. And if you have been or participated in a lesson study, you know how carefully scripted this research proposal is. And within this research proposal, you attempt to anticipate pupils' responses, or you think about the misconceptions of these pupils' responses. So this is the second critical feature. And then, of course, you have the research lesson, which is the third critical feature, is taught by a nominated teacher who is a member of the collaborative planning group, and the other members are silent observers. So you don't intervene in the research lesson, you just watch and observe, and you collect any available evidence of pupil learning. Then there is the post-lesson discussion, the fourth feature, and you meet formally to discuss the evidence gathered, and then you discuss and talk about what you have seen or observed. And of course, the moderator or the facilitator explicitly relates this data to the research team and records the discussion. And it is intended that this learning informs subsequent cycles of research. Critical component would be that it's repeated. So this cycle is repeated. So subsequent research lessons are planned and taught, and then new lessons can be taught or retaught. And then the sixth one is outside expertise. There's input from a koshi in Japanese or an outside expert. So an expert, if say the research theme is differentiation, you ask an expert on differentiation to talk about what has been collected. And then, of course, you mobilize knowledge, which is the seventh critical component. So opportunities are created for teachers working in one lesson study group to access and use the knowledge of other groups. So if you have other lesson study teams, you share your knowledge. And of course, you can organize an open house, or you can network with other kinds of teams across schools. And I think you do this also in Indonesia. I know Arif does this online with many lesson study teams throughout Indonesia. Okay, the next slide. So we thought the 7 critical components were a little too much. So we dived into the literature and we said, okay, we have to derive the big ideas of lesson studies. So that's what I did. So I boiled it down to 5 critical components, or I call it the big ideas. So the focus of lesson study is always the learning of your students or your pupils. So you look at it from a perspective of the students. And the second big idea is that you integrate external knowledge, like scientific knowledge or evidence-based knowledge or practice-based knowledge, with your practical knowledge, with your, what I call your little T, your little theory in your head, your practical T, and you integrate it with the big T, so the big theory. So you explicitly link your knowledge with the external knowledge which exists in science. And with this, you research your own practice. So we say that lesson study is teacher research. It's action research by teachers. And you collaborate in teams in order to do so, in order to learn from others and to extend your own practical knowledge base based on your own teacher research and your experience in practice. And of course, the fifth big idea is that it's cyclical. So it's iterative. This means you do this many times. you do the rounds many times. So we say 8 or 9 rounds per year would be good. And after the third round of a lesson study, you understand what's happening within the lesson study. So these are the five big ideas around which we center our Dutch lesson study. Okay, the next one. And so here you see it again. In order to do so, these five big ideas, I'm sorry, this is in Dutch, but Rianita can learn some Dutch there. So you gain increased stance and you form or realize a culture of reciprocity. So because you have a professional dialogue within your lesson study team, and because you converse with other teachers about your problem or your whatever you're going to research, within your team, you will develop an inquiry stance. So you can do some inquiry-based learning into your research theme. And when you do so, you can foster your teacher learning. And of course, you can respectfully listen to other teachers what they have gained from the research lesson or the lessons they have practiced. So here you see the phases again. Phase 1, the basis for the lesson study process. Phase 2, choose and investigate the research theme. Phase 3, plan and design the research lesson. Phase 4, organize and teach the research lesson. And phase 5, discuss, evaluate, and reflect. And this is done many times over the year. So usually in the Netherlands, we do this around this time of the year. We have done the third round, and we do next semester, we do another 3 rounds, and the third semester, we do another 3 rounds. So hopefully, theoretically, you can do 8 or 9 rounds of lesson study. Yeah. Okay, next slide. So we think lesson study is a good way for teacher professional development and growth. Then in the next slides, and we know that many features of effective teacher learning from the literature are within lesson study. So we know the features of effective teacher learning are precursors for effective teacher learning within the lesson study. So it's active learning. So you enact the lesson into your own classroom. Is collaborative. So you team up with your peers and your fellow teachers. It's inquiry-based. You focus on a research theme and you go in depth into the research theme and talk about it. It's practice-based. It's in your own classroom or in your own school. So it's with your pupils. It's not theoretical. It's your students and your pupils. And again, student-oriented is focused on the learning of your students and your pupils. And of course, it's teacher-directed. So your team is going to plan the research lesson, and you are, as a team, in charge of what you're going to do within this research lesson. So many features of effective teacher learning are present in lesson study. And from the lesson study literature, we know this has a huge impact on teacher professional growth, but hopefully also on pupils' learning. Okay, next slide. So we think it is a version of pedagogic collaborative reflective practice. And here you see we've done this. This is from an article we wrote with Bram Norwich and Simon Benham. So there are many models of professional development, and we think it resembles various professional development traditions in education, such as indeed teacher practice inquiry or action research, because it is teacher research. And it resembles professional learning models or peer instructional models, or what is now very much used are professional learning communities, PLCs, or communities of practice. So it's a version of a pedagogic, collaborative, reflective practice. And I say it's teacher research, and it's a very good way to reflect on your own practice via teacher research. Okay, the next slide would be then that teacher learning and lesson study strongly promotes improved pupil learning. And this occurs when teacher learning takes place over weeks and not days. So you do the lesson study cyclically, iteratively in cycles, and you do it very focused. And again, the classroom, your classroom, is the central location of the learning activity, of the professional learning activity. And then again, experimental inquiry into pupil learning is featured into the learning process, and of course collaboration with one or more professionals. So you see, when you do this over time, you notice that that the teacher learning or professional growth will occur. Okay, next slide. I've mentioned it many times, I see lesson study as teacher research. And originally, in the Japanese lesson study approach, it's a method of research in mathematics education. So in Japanese, it's called Yu-Gi-Oh! Kenkyu. And of course, there are many Japanese researchers who also coined it as a teacher professional development. Only Catherine Lewis in 2000, she says it's lesson research. And before, it was not known as teacher research in Japan, but the name Yu-Gi-Oh! Kenkyu was used as the traditional form of professional development. But now we say as a form of a collaborative, reflective pedagogy, we say it's teacher research. Okay, the next slide. And here you see the 4 dimensions again of professional growth. You see the same cycle again. So I say if you see the cycle many times, 5 times, you know it. Again, this is the cycle: investigation, but in other words, investigation, planning, teach, and reflection. So it's a simple plan, do, review cycle. And you see it in many forms. Indeed, again, here in another form. This model is from Catherine Lewis from the Lesson Study Mills Group in the States. So again, you see here more specifically what's being done within the phases. So the application of lesson study within the cycle. And for us, it's very important, if you form a team, that you develop norms to collaborate, you set again these long-term goals, you formulate the theme and the focus, and if you have this, you study the materials, literature or student materials. And when you plan the lesson, you formulate the lesson goals. Again, you do a very scripted anticipation of student learning. You design the flow of instructions within the lesson. You design the teaching learning plan, as we say in lesson study, and draft a data gathering protocol, which is an observation protocol. Then you teach the lesson, you give it, you observe it, and gather evidence of learning. And once you've done this, you reflect on it, you discuss the data, do a post-lesson discussion, consolidate the learning, and integrate and transfer new knowledge into practice. So if you push the button, you can see what it comes to. Anita? Yeah, so when you investigate, you form ideas within your group. So you share ideas about the researching, and within this, you gain ownership about the things you have discussed and learned. And you have ownership over your lesson and over your knowledge. You collaborate, you have a new norm of learning within your team, and in this way, you gain knowledge. So these are the 4 dimensions of professional growth. And when you go through the cycle, you see over time that in our research, we see that teachers gain these kinds of knowledge. And they all say we have gained a lot from the collaborating with other teachers and have gained new knowledge on teacher practice. Okay, next slide. So if we turn to the Dutch lesson study, and I know Janita wants to come to the Netherlands to to practice this.
Yes, Prof. Obviously, I think.
So this is so different than the Indonesian context. So you see here one facilitator, and this is my colleague Laurens, and 4 female teachers of mathematics. So this is basically how we do this in the Netherlands. So you have small schools of about 200 pupils, and the team of teachers is around 20 or some. So there are small size schools, And we do the lesson study we do after school hours, and you see him moderating the lesson study, and they're going to plan a research lesson on mathematics, I think, for children, and on automatization of mathematics. Okay, so this is a little context of the Dutch context. I think it's very different than your context. I've been in your classrooms. It's different. So it's very the Dutch classrooms are very organized, and it's very neat, and it's so different. And yeah, they all eat bread. So I don't like bread, but that's what I always do. Okay, next slide. So I talked about the adaptation paradigm. So what we do, we try to localize the lesson study, because we know innovation is local and it differs across settings. And you see here, everybody bikes in the Netherlands, as you can see. I've never seen anybody bike in Indonesia. You will be run over, and there's so much traffic. So so you need to adapt the model to the Dutch situation, and in order to create local ownership, and that they and because teachers in the Netherlands are very autonomous, so they don't like authority. They no, they won't. So you have to listen to the needs of the teachers, uh, and everybody goes around with a bike. All children go to school with a bike, whether it rains or storms, or if it's cold, or I don't know, they always bike. So you need to abide to the needs of the local people. And because the teachers are so autonomous and so authoritative, and want to have a say in what they do, you need to do it from the bottom up, from the needs of the teachers. If I would say the school principal or the school administration, we are going to do the lesson, so that it will not work. So we need to go first to the teachers and ask them, what do you need? What do you want to learn? So what kind of process do you want to do? So I cannot say to the school principal, and the school principal will say to the teachers, we're going to do this and this and this. No, teachers will rebel. So we need to do this, because many people are so autonomous. Okay, so the next slide. And so we came up again. Here's the cycle again. We came up with this cycle, and they where we have a strong focus on student learning. Of course, there is a strong focus on student learning also in the Japanese model or the Chinese model, but we do it even more because they want to learn more from what students do or pupils do. So the observation of students within the classroom, what we call the differentiated observation protocol, has a strong focus in our Dutch lesson study model. So every student matters in the Dutch situation. So inclusion is a is a is a very important model within our Dutch education. So that's why we focus a lot on student learning. And maybe you know that in the international comparisons, the Dutch students together with the Swedish students are the most happiest persons in the world. They say maybe it's because of the strong focus on student learning. Okay, next slide.
I thought that's because of the chocolate. No,
Yes, you do.
the sprinkle things. Okay.
So we thank you. So we published a book. So we already published two books. One you saw on the former slide, and we recently published a second book where we specifically focus on case pupils. So we developed talking cards, like you see here, where how you can choose your students within your classroom. What is the reason to select case pupils? How do you do this? And how can you talk about this? What are the criteria or inclusion criteria to select observation points? How to observe students? So observation is a very important feature of our lesson study model. How do you know whether you have observed the learning of your students? How can you make the learning processes of your students more visible? And how can you gather data based on your observation protocol. So we train our student teachers and our teachers in observing student learning. And that's a strong feature of our Dutch lesson study model. Okay, next slide. So here you have another example of talk cards. So we use these cards to guide the conversation in the lesson study, how to prepare the observation of student learning. And we have certain kinds of points to look at and what kinds of observation data you can gather. Okay, and students think it's very helpful to use these kinds of cards. Okay, next one. So here's another example how to prepare the observation. I think you will all have these slides, do they, Rianita? So they can use it if they want
Yes,
to.
I'm going to change, like you say, to PDF, and I'm going to share in the end of the session.
Yeah, so next slide. Again, some examples of how to prepare interviews with students and what kind of questions you can ask students in order to gather data or information about student learning. All you can use to guide the conversation in your team about or your dialogue about students. Okay. So I think the third part is the research parts. So we did a lot of research on, so if you go to the next slide, these are some references. So I have a number of PhD students who are doing research on lesson study, and they all focus on differentiation or adaptive teaching. So as I said, we focus a lot on student learning and pupil learning and how to differentiate within the classroom or how to adapt our teaching to the needs of the students. And we also do a research on how to adopt and adapt the lesson study model to a Western situation, which is Sarah, who does this kind of reason. We recently hired another researcher, which is Shirley Tan. She is an expert in Bancho, and we are going to do research in initial teacher education. So we are doing now a literature review on this, and hopefully we will publish on this. So if you are interested in the research, you can I can give you the articles if you want to, and give it to Rianita, and then you can share it. And the future research is around the next slide. Future research is around. Oh, this is another chapter. So again, the adaptive teaching is a focus. You can download this book. It's open access. I think it's an excellent book, Effective Teaching Around the World. And you just, if you go to in Google Scholar and you look for it, you can download it. It's open access. And we have written chapter 32. So again, the complexity of adaptive teaching. So the next one, which is I think the last one, future research, we're doing a lesson study in initial teacher education. So in our bachelor master programs, we use lesson studies. So with first year students, student teachers, second year, third year, and fourth year student teachers, and they do their master project on lesson study. So they do a full cycle of lesson study within their own school context, and they are student teachers. So I coach two groups of student teachers now. They are working already in schools, in vocational education, and also in primary and secondary education. And they just formulated their research theme, which is on game-based learning. It's just an example of what kinds of research theme they choose. This is one angle of the future research, and the other one is the teacher talk. So we think that the way teachers talk within their lesson study team resembles the quality of their dialogue and their growth. And we try, as facilitators, we try to intervene within the dialogue. So how can we make the talk or the dialogue or conversation within the lesson study group more focused? And we know from our other kinds of research, we know that if you do so, they learn more from what they see in the classroom and how they can connect it to theoretical knowledge. So This is how we try to investigate or research the talk in the lesson study. I hope this meets your expectations. If you want to talk more, please contact me. And I hope I've given you some insights into the lesson study world I'm living in. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Suilin Hui. Dank je wel for the
Thank you.
fruitful information. So, I'm very glad that I had the opportunity to join your research previously, like in 2019, right?
Yes.
Yeah, when you were doing the research in lab school, UPI. Yeah, it's very interesting. Hopefully we can do more about it in the future. So now we will have a Q&A session. For all participants, you can use the raise hand feature. I will mention your name and you can directly deliver your question to Dr. Suilin Hui. You also can use the Q&A feature and I will help to read the question. The question can be in English or Bahasa Indonesia. The committee will be glad to assist you in delivering question. Thank you. Untuk Bapak Ibu yang ingin bertanya, silakan menggunakan fitur raise hand maupun Q&A-nya. Boleh dalam bahasa Inggris atau bahasa Indonesia. Kalau bahasa Indonesia nanti dibantu diterjemahkan. Terima kasih.
Raise hand-nya boleh pakai reaction biar terlihat. Tadi saya lihat ada
yang gitu.
Mbak Ira Asmara raise hand beneran. Cuman maksudnya apakah itu betul raise hand?
Pakai feature aja yang di
pakai feature yang di bawah?
Iya.
You can use the feature raise hand on the reaction.
Ada belum?
Jangan takut Bapak Ibu, tidak apa-apa bertanya, nanti Teh Rianita akan mentranslate.
It's alright because Dr. Suilin very interested in discuss more about this as well, right? Especially from the Indonesian perspective. So
yes, I would love to learn more from your perspective.
Mungkin Bapak Ibu ada yang memiliki pengalaman yang bisa di-share juga, pernah menerapkan lesson study atau ingin menerapkan lesson study di sekolahnya, bisa di-share. Dr. Suilin juga tertarik banget untuk tahu dari perspektif Indonesianya seperti apa. Bagaimana Bapak Ibu ada yang ingin bertanya mungkin?
Atau deg-degan mungkin ya mau
deg-degan masih. Maybe they're nervous to ask you about the question. Maybe so or maybe still doing the reflective thinking about what should we ask about. So let's wait.
Ada bocorannya Teh Rianita sedikit. Ada bocorannya. Kami punya door prize, ada 1 kaos dan 2 buku. Okay, the book is from Ibu Rina, one of our lectures in elementary study program. Ada Rosalin 1 sudah raise hand. Kita akan pilih 3 nanti terbaik dari yang bertanya. Boleh dipilih oleh Teh Rianita. Nanti we are going to send you the door prize.
Dr. Suilin, do you want to answer one by one the question or?
Yes, sure.
Okay, sure. Ibu Rosalin Devi, dipersilahkan.
Masih di mute, Bu?
Iya, masih di mute. Oke, sudah.
Can you hear my can you hear clearly?
A little bit crashing, sedikit enggak.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah, it's much better.
It's not very good here. Much better.
Yep.
Hi, Dr. Hui. All right. If you can listen to me clearly, I have a Montessori setting, which is not now very spread out in Indonesia. But I know this is one of that also growing very fast in the Netherlands, and also Maria Montessori also. So once I applied the lesson study in Montessori, I think it's also one of the enhanced program there in the school. What I would like to ask is, I don't see that this has the program that we have done so far. Instead of this ending up of what we are doing, we also do the teachers research and everything about the school. What I'm going to ask here is how effective it is to applying also the lesson study to the program that we have now in the school. I have tried once in 2 weeks the lesson study, and I can see that the children can, the teachers have more work to do the lesson study here. In your point of view, would it be better to, because this is very important, are having collaboration on another. So what do you think about it?
Thank you. Thank you, Ibu Rosalin Devi. Dr. Sulin, do you got the
Maybe
question?
Tehrianita,
Or do
she
you
can
want me to
mention
repeat about it?
where is Miss Rosalind from, and to make it focus to answer.
It's kind of breaking when from, but I got the
Okay.
question. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, Ibu Rosalin, where are you from? Can you mention a little bit about it? Because I don't get it previously. It's breaking.
I'm now doing the magister in elementary education in
Elementary education. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Dr. Sulin, she is from the master degree of the primary education, and asking the question about the lesson study, the quite popularity right now. I think it's growing. But how to apply that, implement that at school right now, and link that with the school program right now. Because it's when she tried previously, like for 2 weeks for lesson study, but it's not really efficient for that.
Oh, okay. Yes. So if we implement it in schools, we always ask leadership from the school whether they can facilitate it. So it's a very important variable that leadership within the school knows the logic of lesson study, and it takes time. And you need to facilitate the lesson study within the school, and of course related to policy of the school. So if I take mathematics as an example, so many schools have a policy of mathematics. So for our children in the Netherlands, automatization of basic facts of mathematics is a very important topic. So basic skills like mathematics and language are now a strong focus on. So they want pupils to learn the automatization of basic facts in mathematics, because this is the basics of all mathematics and then you need, if you do the lesson study on mathematics, it's important that you relate it to the policy of mathematics in the school, and study the textbooks of mathematics. So it has to relate to what they're doing within the school. So it cannot be just a sole experiment. And then we know that it will succeed more. But you need to ask the leaders in the school to facilitate it, both in time and, of course, in money. So they have to, the teachers need to have the time and space to execute the lesson study. So, yeah. So we've done it already for 10 to 12 years, and we know it's so important to do so. So that you give the teachers the space and the time to execute the lesson study. I'm not sure whether this answers your question.
How about it, Ibu Rosalin? So it's about the talking to the leadership authority first, and maybe you need to learn about the regulation at schools, not only the government, so you can make the suitable decision, which before you implement that at schools, right? But I think it's not only work for the 10 to 12, because previously you were in high school and it's for the second grade, right? Yeah,
second
it's 8 years old in Indonesia. Previously, when you did the research in Indonesia.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Yeah. But it really took time, right?
So, sorry?
Really took a long time. So for
Yeah.
discussing.
It takes time to prepare. It takes time to understand what you're doing. It takes time to discuss. it just
Yeah.
just takes time. And if you do the first round, it always takes time. The second round goes faster, and then the
Yeah.
third round is natural, something like that. And indeed, in secondary education, it's more difficult because you have so many classrooms and so many teachers and so many subjects. It's more
Yeah.
difficult to implement it. So you need leadership to stand behind you, and that they think it's an important professional growth model. Yeah.
Oke, bagaimana Ibu Rosalin?
I need to get my charger first. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. It's alright.
Mungkin Bu Rianita bisa mentranslate sedikit supaya
Oh,
lebih jelas.
oke.
Mungkin buat teman-teman yang lain.
Jadi kata Dr. Swilin, memang kalau ketika kita mau mengimplementasikan atau menerapkan lesson study di sekolah, harus dipelajari terlebih dahulu bagaimana regulasi di setiap sekolahnya, bukan hanya pemerintahnya, seperti itu. Biar tidak kayak kontradik dengan sekolahnya, tidak bertentangan dengan yang ada di sekolahnya, dan harus izinnya juga dengan pemegangnya. Berarti kita ke kepala sekolah kayak gitu, dan harus bilang juga memang itu membutuhkan waktu gitu, butuhkan waktu yang cukup lama. Tadi sempat discuss juga dengan Dr. Swilin karena beliau pernah juga di Indonesia melakukan research tersebut, dan memang harus izin dulu kata beliau gitu ya, diskusi dulu dengan gurunya, dengan expertnya, dengan ahli-ahlinya, baru bisa menerapkan. Dan katanya tahap pertama itu adalah tahap yang paling sulit, dan tahap keduanya lebih pendek waktunya, dan ketiga itu lebih mudah lagi, seperti itu. Bagaimana mungkin Ibu Rosalin?
Kalau boleh bertanya lagi,
Ya, silakan.
biasanya how long
Mhm.
actually you want to do lesson study, how to learn it, how to adopt it, and how to implement if we don't have any or the one who knows about the lesson. The purpose of having lesson study is to escalate the learning of the student. And how if, for example, I'm trying it 2 weeks, and it seems that the students' teachers' connection and communication works well. And then, but how long will it be effective for applying this lesson study, and how we can have this consultant to do it so we can do it in the right way?
Also, it's about the consultation because we just want to just learn about it. How to guide to implement the lesson study. Is it the question? I'm going to make it clear first. Sorry about it. Is it about the difficulties in implement the lesson study at schools? Because lesson study is about learning, and how we have the consultation about it.
You want me to answer?
I'm going to make sure the question first with Ibu Rosalin. Is it the question, Ibu Rosalin?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Dr. Swilin, that's the question.
Okay. So we train facilitators to coach the lesson study here. So we have 3 universities who do this. So if you want to coach the lesson study or be a facilitator, you first go to what is it about 10 meetings where you are being coached to be a facilitator, and then in the meantime you already coach a lesson study team as a facilitator, and then after the training you can go teach or coach the lesson study yourself. And we have a network of facilitators. They come together, I think around 2 times per year or online, to discuss their experiences. And within this lesson study network, lesson study facilitator network, we also do research. What kind of facilitator moves do they do? What kind of interventions are they doing within their lesson study teams? So, and these facilitators, they learn a lot from each other, how to guide the school teams, how to do the interventions within the talk of the teachers, etc., etc. And they also facilitate or help in getting guidance in schools, so to talk with the leadership. So that's how we try to realize a network or an infrastructure for these facilitators. I'm not sure whether this answers the question. And the time it takes to do one round usually is about 8 weeks, so 8 to 10 weeks. So it takes time. And then the second round is faster, so maybe 6 weeks. And if you know the steps of the lesson study, the third round can be faster. So then this is how we do it. But for student teachers, it takes longer time. So if we do a master project with student teachers, it takes usually about 6 months or something.
Okay, so maybe who can be the facilitators? Is it other teachers, a lecturer, or maybe the licenses one?
Oh yeah, there can be teachers at schools. There can be lecturers at university. We even have psychologists doing the training. And if you have, for instance, children with difficulties or special needs, you can include a psychologist within your lesson study team. So
It's about interdisciplinary, right?
yeah, thank you. Yeah, and that's the word, interdisciplinary teams. So it's not only teachers, but you can also include other experts in your team.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
How
are you having a training for facilitators in Indonesia?
I'm not really sure about the license study. Maybe Bu Evi or Pak Ari has experience about the
There is.
facilitators for
Yes, there is.
specific.
There
Yeah.
is. Yes, there
Okay.
is.
Great.
So how about it, Ibu Rosalin? Okay. Thank you well, Mevro Gupui. There is a chat there. So yeah. Okay, so we have maybe the second question from the chat box here from the Liana Sunanto. Permission to ask, let me introduce myself. My name is Liana from Cirebon. Related to the lesson study, if you look at the stage and steps, there are similarities with the action research method. My question is what differentiates the two and can the two be combined?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Yeah, I think lesson study is action research, is in a way participatory action research. So, and what differentiates the two is maybe that you the strong focus on pupil learning, maybe. But again, indeed, it is action research of teachers, and but in we are developing another model where students, the children themselves, so the pupils themselves, are part of the lesson study. So we have worked with children who are doing a lesson study, also designing lessons for other children. So older children who design lessons for younger children, and the teachers research this. So the teachers who are in part of the school are researching how the children design lessons for other children. But indeed, I think it is action research, and I like to say it's participatory action research.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Because as a research, we join in that research directly.
Yes. Yes. So you join. Everybody is a shareholder or stakeholder in the in the action research. Yeah. And in a way, your learning in your action research um, uh, stimulates the learning of other teachers. Yeah. So I do think this is the case indeed.
Ibu Liana, is it answer your question? I'm going to wait first the confirmation. Yeah. Maybe we can move to the next question from the raise hand feature again. We have Ibu. Oh yeah, thank you. Your explanation is very clear. Yep. Next we have Ibu Inariani here. Ibu Ina, you wanna ask directly to Dr. Suelin?
Check. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, it's very
Yes.
clear.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ineriani. I'm from Karawang, and I was graduated from PGSD UPI. This is very interesting material that I joined the webinar series. My question is, correct me if I'm wrong, the difference between listen study and the action research or PTK is, and the listen study is focused on how people reaction or how people doing like that. And to get the natural result is how to treat the student as comfortable as they can be. So my question is, if the observer as the team of the teacher is observing from the virtual, I mean the observer is not attend or not standing around the student, is it still can be called lesson study, or we are the team as the team must be in one room and then physically attend? That's my
Yeah.
question. Thank you.
I understand.
Dr. Swilin?
Yes, it's a very good question because prior to the COVID, we thought everybody should be in one room to observe. And then we were in the lockdown in COVID, so it seems like ages ago. But we had to do the lessons online. So we did the lesson study online too. And then you are in breakout rooms or in Zoom rooms, and it's very difficult to observe. Very difficult to observe when everybody's online. You don't know what the students are doing. And then we said, okay, maybe if the classroom is within the school and we are online is better. So, and we did this. So the students are in school and we are online. How does this work? And but you need to observe differently. So you have to discuss amongst your team what kind of data do you want to gather, what kind of information can you gather when you observe online, and because it's very different than from when you're live in the classroom. And we said to each other, it's the best thing, of course, is to be within the classroom. The second best, of course, is then to follow the lesson online or in a live stream. And then you focus on the whole classroom and not specific pupils, because you cannot see specific pupil learning. You have to focus on the whole classroom learning. So what's happening within the classroom dynamics? And now we have an intermediate solution. So we record the lesson via a platform, via Iris Connect. We have this platform in the Netherlands, and I think it's used worldwide, where we have a camera and a microphone on the table of the students. So students are grouped in little groups, and we place the camera on this table and a microphone, so you can catch pupil learning, so you can catch what they are saying to each other. And in this way we can focus more on what they are saying within the little groups, and this is how we observe. So if you cannot be in the same classroom, because and it usually this is the case because many of the teachers are in different schools or have different kinds of agendas, or are not able to come to the classroom, we do it like this. So we record specific snippets of the lesson and then discuss the student talk. So this is how we try to do it.
Bagaimana Ibu Ina?
No, thank you very much. The explanation is very clearly, and then this is very useful for me and my school, since in our school, in 2 months, 2 months ago, doing this such of lesson study, but not really lesson study,
Okay.
and then with the teachers from the other school, and we do, like I said, we do virtually. So
Ah,
when the lesson study can be we can have the solution with it, with put the camera on the student's
yeah.
table, something like that. Okay, thank you very much, Miss Rianita, and then
Yeah.
Professor.
Ya,
Yeah.
thank you for the other audience. Dr. Swilin bilang bisa dilakukan walaupun secara virtual menggunakan seperti beberapa teknologi sekarang, ada kamera, terus ada juga mikrofon yang bisa digunakan. Tapi memang seperti ada batasan-batasan tertentu apa yang bisa diobservasi dan apa yang tidak. Seperti itu. I think we still have one last question. From so we have the Q&A box again. This is asking about the plan stage in lesson study. What's the teachers or lecturers discuss about in the plan stage? So it's a multiple question. The first one is what we discuss in the plan stage. The second one is what's the teacher and lecturers need to prepare about.
Okay, so what they discuss in the plan phase is that they share experiences on how they teach the research theme to the pupils in this specific classroom. So you select a specific classroom where you want to enact the research lesson, and then you talk about the students in your classroom. So pupil A, B, C, etc. And then you talk about how do how do the students or your pupils react to your instruction. So if you do a direct instruction to the classroom, how would you think these pupils would react? So what kind of behavior would you see the students exhibit within this classroom? So you discuss this pupil by pupil. And in this way, if you want to design a lesson, you anticipate pupils' responses. So it's a way of learning how to think about student behavior. And this is important since you need to know what kind of needs your students have. If you want to learn something like mathematics or something like geography or something like this, you need to know the conceptions of the students or the misconceptions of the student learning. So in this way, you gain more knowledge about your students, your student learning, and you can learn as a teacher how to observe better. If you learn how to discuss about student learning behavior, you in this way you can try to observe the student learning in the research lesson in a more articulated way. So it's a way of trying to professionalize yourself in learning about student behavior. And as a teacher, it's very difficult. If you have a classroom of 40 children or 30 children, it's very difficult to see what students are doing because they behave as a group. In this way, you very meticulously learn how to observe and see what kinds of behavior or learning is happening within the classroom. So that's what you do in the planning phase. And based on this discussion, you plan your research lesson. So what kind of behavior do you want to see the students to do? What kind of learning do you want to see the students to have? I'm not sure whether this answers the question.
Iya. Ibu Nova Susanti, kata Dr. Swilin untuk menerapkan yang phase plan-nya, yang bagian perencanaan itu adalah untuk lebih memahami tentang siswanya, bagaimana pola belajar siswanya, apakah ada isu-isu dalam pembelajaran, sehingga salah satu yang perlu untuk dipenuhi adalah atau dipersiapkan adalah adanya lesson plan nantinya atau adanya RPP ya kalau kita di sekolah seperti itu. Tapi itu masih di awal karena masih rancangan sementara karena hanya sebagai suatu dasar awal ketika kita ingin memahami siswanya lebih lanjut seperti itu. And then Dr. Swilin, Ibu Nova Susanti from Universitas Jenderal Ahmad Yani still ask two question more. Which level of education that can implement the lesson study, and is it possible to implement lesson study beside the math subject?
Yes, sure. We do this with behavior. We do this with languages or geography or biology. Yesterday, we had a PhD defense of a student who did this in biology or in citizenship education. So it's not. I give examples of mathematics because it's easier to know what kind of behavior students are doing. So because in mathematics you can see the learning strategy, they can articulate. The problem solving strategy. And it's more difficult to see the behavior when you're talking about citizenship education or moral education. So we also do this for moral education. Yeah.
Can it implement in any educational level?
Yes. Any education. So
Yeah.
doesn't matter primary, special education. We also have lesson study for kindergarten now.
Ya, jadi Ibu Nova untuk lesson study sendiri bisa diterapkan bahkan kata Dr. Swilin dari TK seperti itu dan juga bisa diterapkan di berbagai mata pelajaran bahkan untuk kayak morality untuk pembelajaran moral walaupun memang mungkin tantangannya akan lebih berbeda seperti itu. Unfortunately, iya Pak Ari.
Karena penasaran saya ingin memanfaatkan
Mangga Pak Ari,
waktu.
silakan. Mangga Pak Ari.
Professor, maybe I will help by Miss Rianita to translate into English because saya tidak ingin kehilangan makna pertemuan kali ini, Bu Rianita ya. Pertama, saya ingin mengapresiasi betapa Profesor Dr. Xu itu so very careful in adapting Japanese theory or concept into Dutch and another country kan. Jadi so very careful in transform and adopt the concept, not just like us. We have some stereotypes that some things went from Western, we receive directly, not considering about culture. But you are so very careful adopting Japanese theory about lesson study to Dutch and etc. I would like to ask about how the student feel. I'm googling about how the students felt when the many observers watching they do something about their learning in a situation gitu. In Indonesia, I have some hypothesis that in our culture, maybe the student will change their natural behavior. Ya tidak jadi lagi tidak natural lagi gitu. There is not any natural anymore. How you manage that situation? Terus ini Bu Rianita tolong disampaikan bahwa bagaimana pertimbangan budaya itu menjadi sesuatu yang penting ketika kita melakukan adaptasi begitu ya. Satu teori bukan hanya saja terkait dengan lesson study, tapi teori-teori yang lain kan tadi ada pertimbangan budaya yang harus kita ini dan itu sangat sabar yang perlu kita lakukan juga untuk di Indonesia. Saya pikir itu enggak, Miss Rianita.
Thank you, Pak Ari. Dr. Suyun Pak Ari is our head of the study program. Indeed. So he asked a question first. He showed the appreciation that you are very careful in adapting the lesson study to other country because it's from Japan previously. Dr. Ari say that we have tendency here in Indonesia that when we learn about a theory that we implement that directly, not adapting to our culture, but it's directly implemented in our schools. And Dr. Arya asked a question about how the students, the first question is how the students feel when many observers watching when the lesson study happen there. Because the students will show the curiosity and not natural anymore.
Yeah, true. Yes. Thank you for the
That's
nice
the first question.
The second question
yeah,
also?
the second one is how to make the consideration when you want to adapt some of theories, not only lesson study related to our cultures. because
Yeah.
Dr. Ari thinks that that really needs our patience to implement that, right? How the most maybe the suitable one for our countries. Yeah. So how to do that?
Yeah, how to do that. Yes, first this the question about the
Mhm.
students. Yes, my experience is also that
Yeah.
students react, of course, to the observers, but in a way, after 10 minutes, they just go about their natural behavior. They do their own thing.
Mhm.
Even online, when they know you are observing, they do
Mhm.
their own thing. And of course it depends on a specific classroom context. So if you have special education, um, students tend to react more than students who are in mainstream education. And
Mhm.
so and indeed it's important to prepare this with the students. So in the Netherlands, we need to send a letter to the parents first to ask for permission,
Mhm.
and that they are being watched and observed and even
Mhm.
filmed. And so we have strict privacy regulations for this. And then again, we ask the students, and some students say, "No, I don't want to be observed." So we have to abide to this. They don't give consent, so they're left out of the observation. But so we have to prepare this very carefully. And then if we sit in the classroom, we always inform the students we are doing this to make the lessons better, and you can help us to make the lessons better. So most of the students are very happy that we ask that we ask them, how can we make our lessons better? So they have a say and have an ownership in preparing the lessons. And because afterwards we interview them and they like it a lot. So if they are being interviewed, they say, okay, your lesson was boring or something, or your lesson was this and this, and you can maybe use more active structures in your lesson. So it's a good way to include the voice of students in preparing or designing your lessons. Yeah. And we have done a lesson study in kindergarten just recently. One of my PhD students is doing this with babies and toddlers, so 0 to 2 years old. Well, this is difficult because they will crawl over to you. So they don't have the patience to sit still.
Yeah.
So then you cannot sit into the
I'm
in the
teaching that age now. So
Are you teaching it age now?
yeah.
They come to you when
Yeah.
you observe, and they want to know what you're writing. So then we
So
film.
we should have some consent from the
Yeah.
children, also
Yes,
from the parents, right?
Mhm.
Mm.
yes, yeah. In the Netherlands, we need this. I do not know how this is in Indonesia. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah,
You
yeah.
did that previously in your research here.
Oh, I did. Okay,
Yeah, you asked first before we go to the school. Have you
okay.
prepared the consent or not?
Yes, yes, yes.
If not, you don't. You must not to go there. So yeah.
Yes, so we are very careful in preparing these kinds of consent from parents, children, and of course the teacher. Yeah, yeah, and um,
The second question.
yeah, the adaptations.
Mhm.
How do you go about adaptation
Mhm.
of a model which does not originate in from your
Yeah.
country? It's a question which is important. Yes, I think you need to localize your implementation. We have, for instance, another model which is on behavior, and behavior is perceived differently in several contexts. So what we call difficult, challenging behavior in the Netherlands is very challenging behavior in your country, I think, or in the States. So I have observed behaviors of different kinds of students in several contexts, and our students are very verbal. The Dutch students, they say a lot. They they are verbal, and they tend to oppose to the teacher, and you have to be a strong teacher to teach here. And the teachers themselves are very verbal too. So I think in Indonesia, I think children or teachers are more law abiding, I think. And so you need to take the context into account. So if you ask for contact or interaction within your lesson study. Some cultures do not naturally interact with each other. So you have to coach the dialogue or the interaction more than as opposed in the Netherlands where everybody talks. Everybody talks. It is terrible. So you need to canalize the dialogue and have strict protocols of talking. And maybe in Indonesia, I don't know, I'm just an assumption. You have to, maybe people are more respectful for each other in talking. They wait for each other in talking, I think. I do not know. And maybe you have to stimulate the interaction more as to gain more knowledge of what they have in their heads. So first, I think it's better to know what kind of culture is in your teachers are in, I think, and whether they and student teachers are different than teachers. So maybe, I don't know whether this answers your question.
Very answering question.
Yeah.
In Indonesia, we have the opposite. We
Oh.
should motivate students to speak.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You should motivate students to speak. In our country, everybody talks. It's terrible.
Everybody talk.
Even in the first meeting, right? So it's directly you're talking.
Thank you, Professor Shu.
Yeah. I think its culture is not all only about the ethnicity, right? It's about
Yes.
the work culture as well.
Yeah,
Here.
exactly.
Because we need to manage about that professional in teachers as well. So
Yeah,
mhm.
true.
Ya, jadi untuk Ibu Bapak tadi Pari sempat menanyakan terkait tentang bagaimana adaptasinya gitu kan ya, bagaimana tentang siswanya. Biasanya kan siswa suka kepo gitu ya, kalau ketika ada orang baru gitu, tapi bisa di-manage. Dan kebetulan juga waktu itu pernah mengikuti Dr. Suyilin juga di Indonesia, penelitiannya anak-anaknya hanya pertemuan pertama dan beberapa jam awal, karena yang ngajar tetap gurunya gitu. Jadi mereka nggak terlalu kaget, observernya di belakang kepo di awalnya doang, ngapain gitu. Tapi karena sudah konsen, udah dikasih tahu duluan, jadi nggak terlalu kaget seperti itu. Dan untuk adaptasi itu tergantung bagaimana ketika kita memahami budaya setempat, bagaimana budaya bekerjanya juga gitu. Unfortunately, due to the time limitation, we are at the end of this engaging sharing session, I think, and allow me to present the summary of today's discussion briefly. So overall, the phase of lesson study are study, plan, teach, and review. That's overall. And it's cycling, right? It's into the cycle. It takes time and a lot of preparation, obviously. So it's, and the teachers and anyone who want to implement that at schools need to understand the need in each cases and the regulation of the schools. So I think that's the brief summary from me. And again, thank you to our amazing keynote speaker, Dr. Suyilin Kui. We hope to have another collaboration in the future. Hopefully meeting in person again, because it has been a long time since we met. And also thank you to wonderful participants for joining us in the lesson study, theory, application, and the future research. I'm sorry for all the inconvenience, and thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Back to Miss Effie.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let's give a big applause. You can use the reaction if you want to, okay, with your hands, that's fine, yeah. Thank you very much. Once again, a big appreciation for Prof. Su Lingo. Okay, it's very interesting. Actually, I have a question, but maybe we have to meet face-to-face. So I can visit Holland.
I hope so.
Yeah, it's time limited, yeah. It's like everyone at the end, they eager or they want to ask you more. Yeah, as Ms. Rianita says, that we can do collaboration. It's very interesting and a little bit different between what the original in Japan and also the development of the Netherlands. So it's like, it's very interesting. It's like, oh, actually we can do some adapt, something like that, right? So it's very interesting. Once again, thank you very much. Yeah, we do hope see you again, yeah, in the future. For this good opportunity, we'd like to also present you a token of appreciation by giving you a certificate maybe the committee, can you give showing the certificate here? Hello? Okay. Can you, are we going to make it big? Can we make it big? So between Prof. Chu and the certificate, and we can take the pictures. I don't know how to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the committee that can do it. Okay. So everyone, let's give a big applause once again. Okay. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Yeah, that is the certificate, okay, that we are going to give it to you. Thank you very much once again. I'm glad that everyone stay almost until the end of the session. Yeah, and also from the YouTube, yeah, they are over there. Okay, and maybe Miss Rianita, do you want to choose 3 winners? And as I write on the chat, please write down your address so we can send the door prize to you. So Miss Rianita, can you choose 3 of them who will be, who will get the prize?
Is there any list of that? Because there's,
okay,
I only
okay.
saw the questions here.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one, I mean,
Number 3.
the one who asked,
Number 3.
the first one is Rosalind Devi from S2
Where's number 3?
program. Okay. And then the second one, Liana Sunanto. And then the third one, Ineriani from Kerawang. And the fourth one, Nova Susanti. And then the next, I think it's go to Pak Ari and then go to the next. It's up to you. Which one do you think who deserve?
I don't know. Dr. Selin maybe can choose maybe within 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can just directly mention the number 1 to 5.
Oh, number 3.
Okay.
Similar with me, like I told you 3 previously.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Number 3
you want me to pick a number? It's a raffle.
Okay. Okay, number 3 means 1 Rosalind, second Liana, the third is Ina. So Ina is the first winner. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Ina, congratulations. Right? Okay. Lucky to you. Pick again, Prof. Chu. Can you pick 1, 2, 4, 5?
1, 2, 4, 5.
Number 5.
Number 5. Number 5 tadi siapa
It's all
ya?
about the odd numbers.
Siapa?
Yeah, odd numbers.
Yeah. Number 5, it's Pak Ari. Right?
Oh, Pak Ari.
I like it. It's a good question.
Yeah, Dr. Silin said it's a good question from Dr.
Okay, that's good. Okay, one more. Between 1, 2,
1.
1.
Yeah.
Okay.
I already guessed. Dr.
So
Silin
Rosalind Devi
will say the odd number.
Okay. So okay.
Maybe I shouldn't have the present. Maybe
Okay.
go
So
anyone.
yeah, you can
Number
choose
2.
number 2.
Okay.
Okay. So it will be Liana Sunanto.
Okay.
Okay, so Liana, Ina, and Rosalind, yeah, congratulations for all of you, yeah, once again. Okay, you will get 1 prize of the T-shirt and then 2 of the books, yeah, written by Ibu Rina Heriani over here, yeah. She is one of our lecturers, and it is about literacy, yeah. Hopefully, I believe it will be very useful, yeah, for you. So once again, congratulations, yeah, for all of the winner. Hopefully it will be beneficial for all of you.
Oh, Bu Rinanya itu.
Ada Bu Rina? Mana Bu Rina? Halo Bu Rina, thank you very much, yeah. Okay, so maybe later if Miss Julin also have any books that you want to share, with glad to have it.
Yeah. I'm in line, the first line.
Okay, of course.
That's the book for me.
Thank you.
The latest book.
Okay, Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Okay, all of you. I think you can see that the list for absence list it's on the chat. So please write down your name, yeah, to get the certificates. Once again, we would like to say thanks very much for Prof. Julins. It's very grateful to have you for webinar today.
Miss Evie, I'm sorry that I cut it first because
Yes.
I saw that Dr. Swilin share us the link about the Iris Connect. I just see that. Maybe I can reshare that here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Oh, wait.
Yes. I saw that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I just see when I just scrolled up and
Right.
yeah.
So
Okay.
everyone
Thank
can
you.
take a look. The information, the Iris Connect, the platform, right? Yes.
Yes,
Thank you
correct.
very much, Prof. Chu.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your attention. I hope I can visit UPI
Yeah.
next year.
Yes.
Would be lovely. Yeah.
Of course. I think it's
In
cold.
April, right?
Is it cold in Netherlands right now?
It's winter.
Yes.
It's
winter.
winter. Oh, I'll visit winter. I want to see the snow.
No snow, please, no snow.
Oh, no snow.
It's too cold.
Okay.
Dr.
Oh,
Swilin is
over
cold.
here we also have Prof. Tatat. Halo Prof. Tatat, how are you? Ibu Tatat ada di sini juga.
Yeah,
And
it's
I also would like to
professor.
thank, yes, Professor, our professor in elementary study program.
Okay, great.
Yes, I would like to thank all the participants, Prof. Tatat, and also other lecturers in elementary study program. Also the student, here, and also other lecturers and all who are interested in education. They are eager to learn more, especially with Prof.
Miss
Shilin.
Evi, Prof. Shilin, and moderator. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Tatat. Next time, the book is from Prof. Tatat.
Oh,
Amin.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Okay. So this is end of our session. Let me check first. Did the committee already take the pictures for all of the participants? For each of the screenshot, I mean, page 1, 2 till 11. There are 11 pages here. Is the...
Wow.
Apakah sudah difoto, Pak Ari? Pak Ari, apakah sudah difoto oleh panitia?
Oke, kita foto aja ya. Saya foto sendiri langsung ya.
We are waiting for the photo session.
Okay.
Photo session.
So let's do photo session. Yeah. Everybody, open your camera. We are going to take a pictures with you. Okay. First page. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Thank you. Okay. Let's go on to the second one. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Thank you. Go to page 3. Hello. It's wait for the link. Sometimes the link is still not complete. Okay, let's go to, okay, still, some open, some not, it's okay. Go to page 4. Okay, you still can open it, because we are going to back to the previous one. Go to page 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Go to page 6. 1, 2, 3. Go to page 7. Thank you. Go to page 8. Go to page 9. And go to page 10. Thank you very much, all of you. It's a pleasure that you can join for our webinar today. Hope we are all well for today and for the next future. Okay, let's close the webinar. Let's say hamdalah. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Thank you.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin.
The next series. We are going to plan to have the series, so we will inform you. Bye. Thank you, Miss Yu.
Dankjewel, Dr. Swilin. Doei.
Bye, thank you.
Terima kasih semua. Pak Dokter, Bapak, and everyone.
Terima kasih juga Ibu. Sehat selalu semuanya.
PPG, Pak Iip, Nurul,
Bapak juga, Bapak,
Baik
makasih.
juga, terima kasih.
Salam hormat untuk semua dosen PGSD.
Thank you.
Iya, Teh Ine, terima kasih sudah hadir.
Terima kasih.
Bye-bye, Teh Ine.
Bye.
Ya, terima kasih semuanya.
Bye.
Tata.
Bye.